The Sawyer Hannay Show.
All right, so very excited to have Jonathan with us today. Jonathan is the owner of Lloyoll Prefabs. It is not your everyday prefab company. If you're listening to me now, especially if you're doing the audio, stop what you're doing, go to Instagram, check out their Instagram, Lloyoll Prefabs, and you'll know exactly what I'm talking about when I say that it's just not your everyday prefab company. You guys produce beautiful prefab homes and cottages and things like that. And I'm really excited to have you on. Really excited to get into it. So welcome to the show, Jonathan.
Yeah, thanks, man. Thanks for having me on.
Awesome. So how's everything going? How's everything going this time of year in the prefab world?
Well, this is a busy time of year for us. I mean, I think we're busy all year, but there's always a little bit of activity for us as winter closes in. I've been just steady delivering homes all fall. We do run out of good weather. And I just got back from Sutton, Quebec. I could have thrown a stone into Vermont from there. We climbed a mountain with one of our houses to get up to a ski resort.
Oh, cool.
And I have been to Rideau Lakes. I've been to Markdale. I've been to PEI a couple times this year and up and down the south shore of Nova Scotia. So it's been a busy wind up to 2023.
Yeah, I would say. I mean, I didn't realize how far you were traveling delivering these homes.
I know, right? We've got homes going to North Carolina this spring. We've got homes going to Wyoming next summer. So yeah, we did design these homes to ship, anywhere in North America, we say, right? And so we meant it, and we get into some interesting places, that's for sure.
That's awesome. So obviously, because I mean, I stayed at one of your units, obviously they're set up for the Canadian winters. Is there any like seasonality differences when you're designing these homes for different locations?
It is everywhere we go. And that's one of the things unique about us is, while we have a particular style and brand and architecture and just general efficiency that's kind of synonymous with us, we also do micro adjust the home for each destination. So we might have to change seismic loading or snow load or wind load. We might have to increase the design pressure on windows, say for South Carolina on the coast, right? Or sometimes it's thermal. If you get into northern Quebec, northern Ontario, we may upgrade the thermal package. And some people just want us to. We delivered one to Rideau Lakes that would qualify as a passive house in its envelope design. So yeah, so they are tweaked, right, for their destination.
So is there one like region that's more difficult? Like would hurricane territory be more difficult than like northern Quebec, freezing cold temperatures? Like is there more challenging places?
Yeah, well, there's the two extremes that you talk about are good ones. Now, snow load wise, we build a really robust frame. So even our homes that never end up in a snow location can handle almost any snow load North America could throw at it. So that's a simple one, right? And increasing insulation is usually pretty easy for us. We use a 2-pound foam, and we have room in our assemblies for more. But when you get into the hurricanes, we have to work with the local team as far as holding the house down. We need to know that the house is the foundation is going to provide the hold down the house is going to need, and the design pressures for the glass. And then when we get into cold areas, like we went up to Lac Beauport, beautiful mountaintop, and the house is perched on a big boulder. So you can picture on the top of a mountain, steel columns that were drilled into this boulder coming out, and the house way up on top of it with this great view. But now we've got the issue of, in the floor, we have these drains, these P-traps to seal the drains off from the septic. Yep. And now they're vulnerable to the wind coming underneath the home. So, we got to do some work on site to protect against them freezing and further improve the envelope.
Right. And I mean, someone that's putting one of your units on a boulder has to expect, there's going to be a little extra work to set it up. It's not just like you're rolling it off onto a concrete pad, right?
Yeah. Yeah. We get a very adventurous client base.
Yeah. I see it in your marketing. I mean, your units are beautiful, but just as beautiful as your units, the landscapes and the way that you guys really market and allow the potential customer to visualize what their unit could look like in that form of nature is really cool. So I can see how it attracts those adventurous types, right?
Yeah, yeah, a bit of an independent streak. Most of them tend to have, right? And and I look forward to being able to present more and more because that is such an important part. I'm glad you brought that up. Getting the house sited on the land and optimizing
Yep.
the land and optimizing like how you're going to interact with the land while you're there. These are conversations I love to have, and all of our customers get to bounce ideas off of us, and we look at
Yep.
videos and drone footages and kind of give them as much, a bunch of advice as we can, even if we've never been to the site.
Right. Yeah. And I feel like looking at your units, there's a lot of glass, a lot of natural light, which I personally really like. And the style homes that you're designing are not just fit for like a subdivision. They're not, it would be a disservice to put them in some type of like housing development or something, right? Like I would feel guilty personally if I were to purchase one of your units and not put it in a really beautiful, place, because that's where it belongs and it fits like a glove. And maybe that's just your marketing too, doing a great job and then visiting the location on the Medway River that I visited. But yeah, it really seems like it's one with nature. And looking at your website too, I see that you guys really have like a sustainability component to your business too. Do you want to speak a little bit on that?
Yeah, no, it's always been really important, and we don't we don't go for the certifications necessarily that world offers, but it's in our DNA, like everything we do. And there's it begins with the envelope, and of course like the energy efficiency is such a big component, and of course siting the home and taking advantage of the sun is really helpful when your view aligns with your kind of optimal orientation. But also it's about waste. It's about not generating waste and efficiency of time, and using quality products that are going to stand the test of time. Using products that are not going to require a lot of maintenance and have a really soft impact on the environment too, where they end up. The last thing we want to do is destroy the environment for the home is intended for, right? So we put a lot of effort into even the trailer we build for delivering these homes, where it can lift up to provide 30 inches of clearance on rough roads. The rear axles to steer around trees, so we're not cutting down 150-year-old trees to get the house in there, and or whether it's a boulder. So it's the whole process. It's the design process. It's the components that go into the home. Sustainability is really the guiding principle behind all of it.
Right. Yeah, no, I love that. And I'm anybody I've worked with on construction projects, they call me a tree hugger because the groundwork guys don't like trees when they're digging their septic, when they're doing their or just digging their basement or doing anything. They want trees, building their roads. They want trees clear out of the way. They like to operate in an open space, right? But for me, I like to try to keep as much of the natural environment as I can, so I totally resonate with that.
I get it. I mean, they want to be able to swing their boom around without looking up over their left shoulder and bring their truck right in, right? So it's a constant battle, and there's always some compromise, but money can't buy a 150-year-old oak tree.
Yep.
It just can't. So once it's gone, right?
Yep. Absolutely.
Your contractors, they're only there to get the house ready. They're not there to live in the space afterwards.
Yep.
So their perspective is definitely different than yours.
Yes, and they want to do things as efficient as possible. They want to get in, do their work, get it done, get paid, and leave.
That's right, and it'll cost you less money if they knock all the trees down, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's a fact. So in the way they're providing you that service, but I agree with you. My house is full of trees. We steered around all of them. I'm glad.
Did you lose any in the hurricane last year?
Yeah, really old spruce tree. Yeah, we did all right though.
Yeah, it's that was upsetting. Like the Nova Scotia rental project there, I have. We're actually opening soon in the next few weeks. We lost a pile of trees, man, uprooted, like huge trees. You talk about trees that are 100+ years old. We targeted that piece of property because of the trees. and we lost a lot of them, which was, disappointing. But I mean, it looks good now. We cleaned everything up, but it was definitely discouraging when that storm first rolled through and we went and set eyes for the first time on the property. It looked very different.
Yeah, it's heartbreaking.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, like, with my little experience of moving in buildings, like, I think that the fact that you're building off site and moving those buildings in might be an opportunity to save some of that landscape too, right? Because a lot of that construction is happening elsewhere. And then it's a matter of, how can you move the building in without having to cut a bunch of trees and stuff, right?
Yeah, that's right. That's the trick. When we employed house moving companies, we needed pretty big roads to get in and out, and
Yeah.
we could only get the house so close. So then we need a bigger crane, and we needed a bigger pad for the bigger crane. So
Yeah.
yeah, a lot of what we've done is just to lighten our touch. And you can, like, the wear and tear on the land itself is decreased a lot. It only takes 2 or 3 months to prep a property for one of our homes, right? And you can go in as light a touch as helical piles. We're almost not digging any holes, even maybe some
Right.
trenching for some services. So yeah, it's nice. It's nice to be able to plop it in there. And other than just like the perimeter of the house, the property is still in the natural state that the client bought it for in the
Right.
first place. And you
Right.
can walk away and step back and snap a shot with your iPhone, and it looks like it's been there for 75 years already.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that. What's your, like, clientele? Like, who's buying these things? Are these like personal cottages or these rentals? Like, who's buying all these?
Very few, like some rentals, and we do collaborate with our landlord clients, and we offer incentives for people like our audience who want to try out our homes, who are closer to them. We'll direct the traffic to them, and we'll credit them their rent towards the purchase price, so they get to test drive the home.
Ah, nice.
Buy a home, and it's no cost to the client landlord. They're just
Yep.
benefit from a top quality tenant because they're there to check out the architecture and
Yep.
test run a house, right? And then demographically, there's no like age that you can group them into. I wouldn't even say there's an income bracket you could group them into. I would say it's more like this personality. Yeah, a lot of them are seasonal residences. We've recently released a few new models that are going to be designed for full-time living, but
Okay.
the first three models we released really were designed for part-time living, right? And so that's who we sold to. But we sell to people that are in their 30s and in their 70s, and I'm talking to some folks from Germany who are advanced in years, and they're on the top of a mountain taking the call with me because they're out for a hike, and that's
Yep.
kind of the common thread. Is right. These
Right.
people are like they just want to be in nature, right? They're not looking for a place to drink martinis and look at nature.
Yep.
They're in the mix all the time.
Yeah. They want to be emerged.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you must see some crazy delivery locations then, with
Yeah.
that type of clientele, that type of true adventurer, not just someone that acts like it,
Off grid. Like I showed up in Rideau Lakes about a month ago, and we were still on the paved road, and we had to start steering the back end around these big boulders, and I was starting to get a little nervous because I knew the road we were getting onto was a dirt road and was going to be way off of this paved road. So we parked the house at the bottom, and I drove up, and it was 1.5 kilometers. I could barely get my pickup truck down. Like this was a four-wheeler trail. And somehow the crane had gotten back there, but he was stuck high and dry. So I pulled up to stop, and the house site's way down the hill. I'm looking way down there, and the crane is lodged into this rock, and the massive back tires that are almost as big as me are slowly spinning like 12 feet in the air. And I'm looking at this, wondering how are we going to get our house? How are we going to get this crane unstuck?
Yeah.
And no cell service. So then we found a mountaintop, got on Yellow Pages, excavating contractors near you, talked to a bunch of them, and most of them, as soon as they found out where we were, they're like,
They weren't interested.
we're not going anywhere near what you're trying to sell us today. So finally, one of them said, "You got to call this guy Frenchie," and we called Frenchie. I could tell within 5 minutes of talking to him that he was not scared of the challenge and a real problem solver. So he showed up with a 20-ton machine And him and I went down the road and moved, stumps and rocks and things that we had to move so that the house could get down. We got the crane dislodged, and then we brought in 13 triaxle loads of 3-inch rock and dumped it down this hill so that we could get over that hump that caught the crane. And by 10:30 that night, we had the house on the foundation.
Wow. So you literally had to like patch the road.
Yeah. We had to make road in for about almost like 1.5 kilometers.
So where was the client throughout all this? Was he there to witness all this? Oh yeah.
Like he had no, really experience in this world, right? So for him, he was just like, wow, I did not realize what we needed to do to get ready. And I'd never been there before, and the crane operator had never been there before. So everyone was kind of the same amount of awe.
There's always, like you said, this guy's name was Frenchie. There's always somebody that'll do it. There's always somebody that's up for the challenge, but it can be hard to find because most people want the easy job, right? And I don't blame them, the low risk job, but there's always somebody that's like, well, I can do this.
Yeah, like rise to the challenge.
Yeah,
he's a can do kind of guy, and he had the gear and the experience and the know-how. Like, if it wasn't for him, we wouldn't have got in there. There's no doubt in my mind. We weren't getting in there without him.
When I was moving buildings for Liberty Village, I got a hold of, most people didn't want the job. So I got a hold of this old guy. He was mid-70s and he's like a local legend, but he used to live out west a lot. He was a rancher. Like he's a true cowboy boots every day, Wrangler jeans, like true cowboy. And when I called him, he said, Sawyer, I said, well, can you move it? He said, Sawyer, anything can be moved. That was his attitude. He's like, it's just a matter of how. And he said when he was out west, he cut 100-foot barn in half with a power saw and moved it. It was 50 by 100, and he moved it by 2 50-foot by 50-foot sections. And he just said, like, when there's a will, there's a way. And I'm telling you, that guy was rough around the edges, but he was my best resource when it came to like getting shit done, because a lot of the, other contractors weren't interested in those really challenging and higher risk type jobs. Right.
That's right. Yeah. Yeah. They're not a common breed. But thank God they're around because,
I love working with them because they usually have the personalities too, right? Like they usually have the stories, because if they're willing to do that for you, they've probably done that 24 times over the years, right?
They're used to bailing people out on a regular basis.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, that's wild. Oh, that's super fun. So where are the units in Atlantic, Canada that, if a person wanted to rent, like where would you find those? Obviously yours, but is there any others?
There's 2 in Nova Scotia you can rent. One we own, and one a client of ours down in Shelburne has one on a beautiful white sand beach, our salty model. Gorgeous location, very unique. Now we've got them spread out all over the Maritimes. Most of them are private, at least at this point in time. The other one that's for rent that with a landlord we're cooperating with is in Lac Beauport, up in the mountaintop there. Yep. It's in a provincial park, and it's at like the hub of a giant network of mountain bike trails, but you can also cross country ski and snowshoe up there as well. And Lac Beauport is beautiful. The one we're shipping to North Carolina will also be available to rent eventually. They're going to live in it while they build a custom home on the property, and then they're going to put this one on the short-term market.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's great. I was so excited when you guys welcomed me to your guys' place here. Geez, I don't know, 2 years ago. And we were just talking before we started recording about that trip and how, I took a few photos, which I've done. I've taken tens of thousands of photos, and posted them and, whatever. But for some reason, not some reason, your unit was so beautiful that when I posted that one just popped off. And like you mentioned, it's the photo the set of photos that keep giving, because man, the reposts, people, I still get tagged and reposts all the time. And that photo is like, I don't know, 2-3 years old.
Yeah. Yeah. It's unbelievable. You just captured it, just right, in the right mood. Yep. And it gets so much feedback still every time it goes out there. And I don't know, like how many people saw this, but here's the photo, folks, for anyone who's watching the video. And it got picked up by House Beautiful, which is a really old and well-known publication on the West Coast down in Los Angeles way. And they did an episode, like a whole edition on small homes. And this is the biggest the cover of it. Like this is where it starts. Everyone else gets a little piece of a page. Sawyer Hannay's name is right on here.
Yeah, it's funny, man. I was into photography heavy for a while, and I finally technically became published with that publication, and now I don't take pictures anymore. It was almost like, I reached the pinnacle, and now I'm done.
Well, yeah, take a lesson out of a page out of Wayne Gretzky's book, right?
Yeah, no, it was. I mean, that was pretty cool, and I was so thankful. Like, I just wanted to make sure you guys got equal value back, because obviously it's a really premium place to stay, and so I knew kind of what I was up against, and I was like, I got to at least give them enough value that it's like a fair trade for them, right? So I was really happy that photo and that set of photos really worked out for you.
I don't even know how you put a price on that, honestly. Just the amount of wheels, that thing is the life of its own now.
Yeah. No, it's pretty cool. I got a copy. I believe you mailed me a copy here when it first got published in the magazine. So I got a copy at my house. I don't really know what to do with it, and I also have photos. I took like my favorite, dozen photos I've taken over the years and put them in frames in my living room. So I have that photo framed in my living room as well.
Nice.
Yeah. No, it's cool.
Yeah, no, that was just a little touch of, I don't know, just the right thing at the right time. And it still is the right thing at the right time, I guess.
Yeah.
So that didn't have a time. It's timeless, Sawyer.
Yeah. And I mean, I still get asked about it all the time, and I'm so proud and happy to send them your guys' direction, whether it's someone inquiring to build, which typically is tire kickers, it's like, hey, how much can I get that for? And then when they realize that, things cost money, they're not as interested. But I definitely get messages still about that. Like, where is this? How can I stay there? How can I build one? How can I buy one? So
yeah,
cool.
Very cool. Yeah, and just getting out there is important, right? Not everyone's going to be a customer, but they can still be a relationship of some kind.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. My mentor says a no right now is truly just a not yet. So, if they're not ready right now, maybe in the future they will be. Who knows?
Give them time, right? Circumstances change.
Yeah. I'd love to. Well, I guess, maybe people listening don't really know exactly what a prefab house is. Like, can you kind of explain the difference between a prefab and just like a conventional or traditional home?
Yeah, I mean, really, when it comes to modular versus manufactured or mobile, there's quite a distinction there. So, like mobile is not is built to a different code than a regular home, and it's designed on the chassis, and you can hook up a tongue to it, and you can move it from place to place. Hence its name. Whereas like a modular home, actually, there shouldn't really be a lot of distinctions between a modular home and a regular home once they're settled. The same codes apply. It doesn't matter whether it's structure, insulation, systems, foundation, roofing, you name it. There is no difference. Of course, there are logistics to consider, and a modular home has to be transportable. And in my opinion, too, like we've built modular homes that exceeded 6,000 square feet and had walnut cabinetry flowing from module to module and even glass corners. And, it was fun to prove that it could be done, but I didn't feel like it was a pragmatic approach to modular. And it didn't feel like it was helping really with the fact that we just need more housing and we need to be more efficient at producing it. So now I'll build you a 6,000 square foot modular home, but it's not going to, it's going to join like a modular home. We're not ashamed at all of the fact that our homes are modular, and we've designed them in such a way that we can fit a lot into one unit that we ship. And if you want to, we can back off on that a little bit, create a little more social space, and then ship another unit that maybe includes some of that functionality that you need. And to even, put a finer point on that, Sawyer, we're kind of designing them so, like, if, for example, you're just a couple, you can have a one-bedroom opulent lodge, and you can put it on that piece of property that you really couldn't buy that property and put a 5-bedroom house on it. But you can swing that property with a 1-bedroom house and a really nice dining room, really nice kitchen, right? But then in 5 years, you come back to us again, and you can pick from our 1, 2, 3, and 4-bedroom private wings it's already ready to click on. So, it's good to have that vision, like you as the homeowner, to have that vision. And we try to help people be really aware of the possibilities and the strategies. So, yeah, you bite off as much mortgage as you want right now in your life. You pay that interest down, you gain that equity. When you need more space for whatever reason, whether it's a studio, a media room, or a private wing, you add it then, right? So you don't have to build a 5-bedroom house because you're gonna need it in 5 or 10 years.
Right.
Focus on what you need now. Focus on the land or the neighborhood and in the quality of the products in your house that they're gonna last, right? And you're not gonna need to replace them in 5 or 10 years. And so that's the strategy as far as we're concerned, to make having the right piece of land and the right home more attainable and still have a lifestyle, because that's the hard part, right? You take out a mortgage right now at 6 or 7%, and can you afford to travel anymore? Like, can you
Right.
afford to go out with your friends for a beer anymore? Like, not everyone can. And it's a shame to have to really compromise on either the location or the quality of your home. So instead, just get what you want, get what you need. And I think I strayed from your original question a little bit, which was the differences, between prefab and a site built home. And other than having to ship it down the highway, shouldn't be a whole lot of other differences.
I love that you say other than shipping it down the highway, as if that's like just a side note, just like an easy thing to do, right?
Yeah, it gets easier the more you do it.
But the even the transportation logistics, like that probably limits what you can do building wise, right? Because you can only build so high, and if you're getting under bridges and stuff to deliver, and just the codes on power lines. I know when we were moving buildings, power lines was the biggest concern. It's like, I think it was 16 feet. It has to be below 16 feet on a trailer. So all of a sudden you're looking at a drop deck versus, because that 2 feet of a regular flatbed height matters, right?
Yeah.
So when you're building, like, what kind of challenges go through building a home knowing that you have to drive it down the road and deliver it?
Yeah, so we're like, the drop down is definitely a good strategy to employ. Our trailer drops to within 2 inches of the pavement and can lift like 35 inches above the pavement or above the rough terrain that we get into. So that's critical. Overpasses are way worse to hit than power lines. I mean, power lines are bad. Overpasses are really bad.
That's like national news bad.
That's right. Yeah, you're going to make the evening news on that one.
Yeah.
So, so everything needs to be designed that way. And so we can do 10-foot 7 ceilings even in a single module, but we can go 2-story. Like, these things can be stacked easily, and we often have, right? And we can do really cool things. We can spin the upper level perpendicular to the lower level and create a carport and an entry that you can park under cover. And so, you're really only limited by your imagination. And then the other limit is like, well, what's practical? And after a while, if it's if it's a certain shape you want and it doesn't really fit within the modular strategy, you shouldn't build a modular home anymore. You should go and site build a custom home. So there's a place for it. We're incredibly efficient. We could have the home ready to go faster than you can have the foundation ready for the home. So we can take 6 or 8 months off of, maybe even a year off of your project.
Wow.
While you wait, while you carry that construction interest rate, while you carry the construction insurance and all those things, and while you pay rent somewhere else.
Yep.
So there's a lot of advantages. But yeah, there's some pragmatic restrictions, I would say. You can do anything modular. You can put a man on the moon if you got NASA's budget too, right? But what makes sense is kind of where that's the sweet spot.
Right. Yeah, no, that makes sense. And when you're building, is it typically all like 2x4 framing or steel framing, or does it differ depending on the project?
Well, we do 2x6 walls filled with spray foams. They're incredibly rigid. We sheet with plywood. We build every wall like a truss, like a shear wall. Our beams, if our unit is 48 feet long, the floor beams are 48 foot long. They're not 12-foot beams strung together. So we laminate 48-foot beams. So you'll have 48-foot beams and running down the long axes each side of your floor and your roof. And then we use the sheathing in these truss wall systems to tie it all together into this diaphragm, right? The joists for the floor and the rafters are an engineered wood product. And there's a lot of advantages to that, besides how strong and quiet and the low deflection, but also because they're engineered, they really wisely place the materials so that you can really fill the assembly with insulation where you need it. So instead of losing a whole bunch of thermal values to a solid lumber right to the roof, you have, it's like an I shape. So you have like a little block up top and then a thin piece of plywood and then a block at the bottom. And that whole top bit gets filled. So you're gaining a lot of energy efficiencies plus the strength and the reliability of the material. We do use steel, but we use steel more as a hybrid because we do timber framing. We had a lot of post and beam work, and we had a lot of windows. Like our houses are full of glass, and you don't want the glass taking the stress of the house going 120 kilometers down the highway or the hurricane hitting at 160 kilometers an hour.
Yep.
So you throw these big heavy plates on the outside. You can't even see them, but they're bolted on. They attach from the engineered beams to the timber beams, and they take all that movement out. So there's really like a really nice mix. We don't have beams in our walls. We have beams in our roof. That's how we have glass right from the flooring to the finished ceiling.
Yeah. And that, I think, is what really makes your unit so special. I think it's the glass, because conventional houses don't have, panes of glass the size of yours. And like I said, the photo that I took, I mean, it's basically all glass. It's all windows, and you can see right in, and it's almost like an indoor outdoor living space the glass creates. And I think that's what makes it so special,
Yeah. Yeah. And that one was small. Like that's the smallest model we make, but you can sit inside there and it doesn't feel small. And you don't feel like you're in a small world either, right? You feel like you're part of a much bigger world, but you might be in your slippers,
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So do you guys build everything inside, or do you have a factory? You build everything inside? Yeah.
Yeah. It's 20,000 square feet.
Oh, wow.
The building is 200 feet long, 100 feet wide. We're in an office that we've added onto the outside of it. So that 20,000 square feet is dedicated to milling. We make our own sidings. We make our own tongue and groove flooring and ceiling boards. We machine our own metal for the sidings, and we store some products. We have a aluminum fabricating shop, and the rest of it is just filled with houses. And we have 4 production bays that each fit up to 2 houses simultaneously.
Wow. So you really have your hands on it every step of the process. Are you selling that material too as like a secondary channel, or is it all just made for your own projects?
It's all for our own. There's an opportunity there for sure that I think that we'll develop at some point in time. But we have our own cabinet shop too, right? So we're so busy feeding our staff out there. Right now, that's taking up all of our bandwidth. But we are importing, and we are working with some materials that are unique to the area and that do really well here. So I think that'd be a natural progression for us, is to offer some of the unique products, not to compete on nails or MDF trims more, but
right.
Some of the things that we bring in are they're special, and like I said, they work well in this environment.
Yeah, your units are certainly unique. They're the styles are something I've only really ever seen online on Instagram or in Europe or in these crazy like destination type places. Like, where does your inspiration come for the design?
It's been a mix, and Europe is. I'm glad you brought that one up. I have a special email for inquiries from Europe because we haven't figured out how to ship over there yet. But if you look closely at our style, you'll see that we really embrace the Scandic architecture, which tends to have very, very clean lines. And there's the part of it is the beauty of it, and part of it is how sensible it is for modular to adopt that strategy. And then if you dig in a little deeper, you'll actually see like our timber framing roots, which were West Coast and heavily influenced by Japan and some of the really old architecture, like 1,000-year-old architecture, and not like the big sweeping roof lines, obviously, but the wood joinery and the peg joinery and the things that they learned. We do some of the soshigi bands sometimes where we burn the materials to create a finish on the wood with hot flame. So it's a mix of them. And then we were lucky enough to work with great architectural firms all across Canada when we were custom builders, and really pay attention to them and really learn the value of detail and help them bring projects to life, and really focus on that and be the bridge between the structural engineer who had an agenda and the architect who had an agenda. And we would kind of help bring all that together. And so we got to see also things that don't work, things that look great but don't work, or things that just become a warranty problem for us as a builder down the road. So we got to cherry pick all the best of all that, and then
Right.
put them into these buildings.
Yeah, and I mean, when you're inspired by something somewhere else in the world, well, maybe it doesn't relate to our climate too, right?
Yeah,
There's
yeah,
lots of beautiful units that will not work in Canada.
that's
It's
right.
impossible, right?
Right. Yeah.
So yeah,
Exactly.
I'm sure there's a lot of trial and error with that type of stuff, right?
Yeah, I mean, we've been lucky enough. So Lloyoll Custom Building's 20 years old in September, but we've been building prefab since 2015. So we get to kind of bring like a wealth of knowledge with us. But of course, like we are creating new spaces. We are trying new ideas, and yeah, this is like a little lab out here sometimes, and the team is really on board with that. They don't mind taking it apart and doing it again. And,
Right.
occasionally we do get into that. We've got a lot of tried and tested systems, but then of course we want to try something new too, right? And our clients also influence us that way, and we learn a lot from them, and they bring ideas. So there's always that desire to kind of push the boundaries of what you know into some new innovation.
So you said that you've been in this world for 20 years now. Is that like what were you doing before you did the prefab thing? Were you doing custom homes or what were you doing?
Yeah, I studied business when after high school, but I got into the trades and I enjoyed it, and I spent a lot of time in British Columbia working for a couple of really big outfits, and I get to learn a lot from them. And I went into business a little over 20 years ago in British Columbia, and I got into timber framing right away, and that was one of the first steps I think towards prefab. And then I had no thoughts of getting into prefab, but I had a small little garage that I turned into a timber shop. And I was theoretically building timber frame homes in this garage and then assembling them on site for the first time because it was such a small space.
Yeah.
And so early on, I started to realize the potential of a climate controlled production space, but I always really liked the old world craft. And so I never really strayed from that, but I added more and I added more. So we were building wall panels, we were building roof sections, we were building timber bents, timber frames, timber trusses. And then eventually, as we were building a hotel just down the coast from here, we decided, hey, like let's try this out. No one's really doing anything unique in the prefab world right now. There's a couple of companies in California that were starting to, and they're inspirational to us, and a couple of them are still around actually. And we thought, let's do that and let's try that out. And we haven't looked back because now we do it all here, and we build our cabinets here, and so we have all this control over the product, and it has had a really positive impact on like warranty and
Yeah.
and developing materials for our customers to better understand the house, how the house works, what to expect from the house. There's like a reliability component that's built into it now that as a business owner, de-risks a lot of the things that we're doing.
So where are you keeping up with all these trends or where are you like, is this social media? Like where are you finding, or even throughout the years, like before Instagram kind of popped off, like how are you staying on the forefront of all this stuff?
Yeah, you got to be a sponge, right? And you got to know when to listen. And I've had a lot of great opportunities to listen. But I mean, it could be as simple as one of our team coming in and saying, "Hey, I saw this," whether they saw it on YouTube or Instagram, or they read about it. And then, occasionally I'll do something a little more formal. I'll attend like a modular tech senate somewhere,
Okay.
or get on like online forum and listen to people talk and share ideas. And some of it truly is just inspired by the combination of experiences, that we've all been able to put together here jointly. You look at a problem, there's 4 or 5 of you looking at a problem, and you have a couple of weeks to talk about it and then go away and think about it and talk about it again. It's kind of cool what'll come out of that, right?
So you're very obviously a creative guy. Like, do you struggle with like limiting yourself to creating and then putting on your business hat and saying, okay, listen, I can't just create a million different things. Like we need to kind of systemize the units that we've established. Do you
Yeah.
struggle with that balance?
Yeah, I do realize the value of that though. Like now, as I get older, I do more so, and it's one of the reasons why I feel like I wouldn't have been a successful architect because I am a details person and I love to create, but I would have had a hard time trying to have someone else kind of put it together, my ideas together, right?
Mm,
This environment, we can really go back and look at the process as a team, disseminate it, improve it. And now, like at this age of my life, I know that if this business is going to outlive me and my energy, it's going to be because there is a system here that is reliable, and there is kind of a way to onboard new people and a way to take advantage of new ideas and perspectives. And so, people coming here, knowing how we do it, getting on board, and then offering some new ideas as they kind of get engaged and get in the flow. That's like the lifeblood right now, I feel, to bring not just the good ideas together, but the good systems together to make a product that we can reliably produce and forecast how long it will take, and of course how much it'll cost.
right. So what are your kind of goals like in the, 5 year, 10 year, like what are your goals with this business?
My goals for this business are to create systems within it that will outlast me, outlive me, that don't need me. Like that now is my focus. I really enjoy the creative part still. And I've got my fingers all over all of it, and I get to
Yep.
go out and work with the team, and I love it all. But my real goal here is to I want this to go beyond me. I don't want to be the limitation of Loyal Prefabs. I want to just be the person who pushes it and gets it going, and then I want to be able to enjoy watching it
Right.
later on.
Yeah. Well, I mean, from the outside looking in, you definitely have created something to be very proud of. Like I said, it's beautiful. The fact that you say you're a detail oriented person does not shock me. The details are shown through, and that's something I actually lack. Like I enjoy constructing and building, designing those things, but I don't love the fine details towards the end. I like the conceptual stuff, you
Yeah,
know, uh, but I don't have the attention span that's necessary to make to do the finish work and all that you guys very clearly do.
well, I hear you, and I think we might make it look easier than it is, because sometimes you got to walk away and come back to certain things, right? Just to get the best out of yourself. That's just necessary sometimes.
Yeah,
Um, but there's a lot of satisfaction in it, right? When you finally do push it across the finish line.
that's right. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I know that we talked about just through messaging about the opportunity for like a reality TV show. Like I know that you have had some crazy experiences delivering units, but also, and a big reason why I wanted to have you on the pod was just because like what you do is so unique. And I couldn't agree more when you said that. I was like, yeah, there should be a camera following you guys, because what you guys are doing between your four walls, like, is not what 99% of people are, you know, exposed to, right, or have ever seen before, right? So, was that just you kind of joking around, or is that something that you'd seriously consider?
Yeah, no, I would. I think because I'm so interested in getting the story out there, and I recognize the value that branding brings to everyone and to the future of this. And truly, it generally excites me, but in 5 years from now, I'll barely be able to remember some of these stories. And my whole life has been like that, right? I've
Yeah.
got the scars and I forget what they're from. They're just there. So I think it would be really fun. I've done a little camera work here and there. I've not myself personally, but been involved. And I was always amazed at how well a good videographer and team could tell a story. It just blew me away. And I know, like Frenchie, like I would love to have seen his face and have someone just talk to him and ask him a
Yep.
few questions, because the dude was like, he was right on, right? And
Yep.
so direct, look you right in the eyeballs each time.
Yeah. Yeah. It's, I mean, HGTV houses a lot of TV shows like that. For a while, I was into watching all the cabin shows and stuff. And, the Pete Nelson treehouse builder.
Oh yeah,
Yeah. So he has an interesting thing, and when you mentioned that, my mind went right to like the Nelson Treehouse Show, whatever it's called, I forget, and also like the like loggers that work up in the mountains. Like it could be a combination of, because obviously you have the building component at the treehouse show they build on site. So you could have the building components of that show, which is really cool and valuable in a proven concept. But then you could also have the delivery complications of the show that like some of the loggers up in the mountains run into, problems with stuff out there, right? Yeah. Wildlife and unserviced roads and all of that. Like you could really, like, it's kind of a double-edged sword there for you.
Well, that'd be the raw part, right? So here in the shop floor, we have this wonderful setting. We have this fantastic team, and they're interesting and they're diverse, and they bring a lot of ideas to the table. So they're just fun. But the environment is so wonderful here. But then on site, like, man, you just wear it on your sleeve. You're just going from minute to minute. So you're going to see looks and hear words that you don't hear out here in the shop.
You might have to bleep some stuff out.
Right. Depends if you're PG in it or not.
That's right. Yeah. Oh, that's too funny. Like when I got into like building and cabins and contract work and all that stuff, like I know myself as a consumer, I was conditioned to think like, okay, if I buy something, I receive that thing. I sell clothing products. Well, if you buy my hat, I ship you the hat, and that's it. That's all. That's the transaction. But when it comes to construction, there's so much more that goes into it. It's not just like, here's my money, put the thing there, and I'm going to move in. Like, the landscape, you could run into, bedrock issues, or maybe your well, maybe you can't dig a well in that area, or maybe there's some like, there's just so many different problems that can arise in construction. And I think a show like that would bring a lot of light and make people realize how complicated it is from start to finish to get like the home or the cottage that you're purchasing. It's not as easy as buying a hat on a website.
No, and like I've always said that the best relationships, whether you're talking about the homeowner or whether you're talking about the many trades people and professionals that go into pulling these projects together, as partnerships, right? A homeowner it's not easy for a homeowner to just get off the hook and say, well, I paid my money, because they're going to have stuff. They're going to have risk on the line too, right? They also need to get this project across the finish line.
Yep. So
when everybody has that problem solving lens where it's like, yeah, this is unforeseen, but what are we going to do about it? Let's start thinking about how we're going to move forward here. Then it's a great environment. But as soon as one person in the mix somewhere thinks that, hey, everyone should be catering to me right now with this problem, and I'm going to stamp my foot really, really hard and expect everyone to start dancing faster, that takes the fun out of it immediately. I mean, you still solve the problems because that's your job and you're a professional.
Yep.
But it is a collaboration, and buying or building a home is a partnership for sure.
Right. Yeah. It's an experience. Like I was the general on our warehouse. We built a warehouse last year, and I was the general, and it's a warehouse. It's not a home, so I'm not picking out countertops and light fixtures, and it's a warehouse. I tried to make it nice, but I promised myself, I said, like, I'm not going to build a house until I have a partner, because the contract part was so much fun, coordinating the trades, the timeline of it, keeping things on task, keeping things on budget. Like that part is fun because I like business. What I didn't like was making decisions. Like I went with white and black and gray, everything, because like it matches, right? Yeah. And with my home renos, I did the same thing. But to me, that was like a really challenging part, because it's a big decision. If I'm going to put hardwood floors down, I got to like the color, because if you don't, it's a really expensive mistake, right? So that part of the building process wasn't super fun to me. So if I was a customer of yours, and I mean, your creative eye speaks for itself, I would be like, listen, I'm going to trust you on a lot of these decisions. What looks good, and I'm going to come to you for that reason, because you've proved it in concept. And that to me is why I like kind of your model, the prefab model. You kind of know what you're getting, in advance, right?
Yeah, that's right. It's really important to empower the customer, and cost is another area where you really need to empower the customer. That's why we built that build and price tool. You don't have a salesperson breathing down your back while you're picking between finishes. And you know what they're going to cost, right? So you
Right.
get all this knowledge that you kind of come to us with. When we start our conversation, you already know quite a bit. You know the cost of the home delivered. I mean, that's kind of a big deal, right? We haven't even talked yet. You already have
Right.
that information. And then we just start discussing what you need and what, customized for you or for your property. So I think like, the quality, the style, and the cost, they can't be separated from each other. And you can really overwhelm someone. Like you've got a full-time job, and your interior designer puts 15 different grout colors in front of you at
Yep.
supper time. You're supposed to pick one, and you like 10 of them look the same.
I know. I didn't know there were so many damn shades of white until I started painting stuff white.
Yeah, that's a lot.
Yeah, no, it really is. And I didn't realize you had that pricing tool. That must eliminate a lot of tire kickers and a lot of unnecessary communication too. Like, hey, what's this going to cost? What's this? Right? It's just there for the person to go through the system and kind of see that stuff without having to blow your phone up every 5 minutes.
Yeah, it's not there to scare people off. It's just there so that we can, offer better service to the people who are really, really interested and understand the product.
Right.
We don't have our time, our attention split by so many people. So it does help people decide for themselves, like if this is the right fit or not.
What is your your sales process or whatever you'd call it? Like if I, called you up or found you online and I said, hey, listen, I'm interested. What walk me through that process of kind of start to finish?
Yeah, so I'm going to be really interested in where you live. The further away you are, the more restricted I am in the models I'm going to offer you. If you're right here in the Maritimes, width is less of a liability for us, so we offer bigger homes.
Okay.
So I want to know where you live. I want to know. I want to know a few things about you, right? I want to know how many people are in your family. So we're just going to have this little conversation where I get to know you, your needs, what your vision for this home is. I'm going to start, instead of just then, though, I'm not going to take direction from you on what kind of home I can provide you. I'm going to offer you what I can efficiently give you now that I understand what you're looking for. And then we're going to try to quickly get to the place where, do you want what I can offer or not?
Right.
And then if we find out that, yes, we're a fit that way, then we're going to, it could be really quick. We could have a contract in front of you in as little as a week, sometimes as much as a month. That contract starts the process. We're probably going to be delivering a home within 6 months.
Wow. So 6 months start to finish, you can deliver that home.
Yeah. From the time we execute the contract. Yeah.
Wow. That's really fast.
Yeah. Like I said, you have barely enough time to get the site ready.
Right. Yeah. And the nice part about it, you can do them at the same time. Your groundwork guy can be working while your guys are, framing.
Yeah. Yeah. He or she gets chased around from the rain and the cold. And in here, we're just a steady progression every single day.
Right. And that adds a lot of predictability to your business model and to the customer experience.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Wow.
Instead of building a home, it's kind of more like shopping for a home here.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. That's the way I would shop. I mean, if I got married and she wanted to do something different, well, we'll have that conversation. But if it was up to me, it'd be like, I like this one. This is what I want. I'll see you in 6 months. Yeah. So what are the foundations that people are putting these on? Like, is it all pads? Is it post-tech? What are people using?
Post-tech works, ground screws work, concrete columns like sonotubes work, stem wall of any kind, whether it's 4 foot, 8 foot, 9 foot. We've got one going on a 12-foot tall wall so they can get a view up from above the treetops. Anything but a slab, really, because they're a code-compliant home. And the reason I say anything but a slab is because, well, we have a floor. So we don't want to put a floor on a floor. And all the services come in underneath, nice and tidy. The architecture is super pristine. There's no meters, there's no nozzles, there's no regulators attached to the sides of these homes. They're all through sealed conduits, whether it's communications, water, sewer out, electrical in, it's all concealed below the home. So the most efficient is, I would say, concrete columns or ground screws.
Okay.
But every site sort of deserves to be assessed for what's optimal for that site.
Right. Yeah. No, that makes sense. Have you seen the those units in Quebec that are like they look like old fire towers. Like they're like, I don't know, like 50 to 80 feet off the ground. Have you seen those on like great big I-beams?
No, I have not.
Those are crazy, man. The Quebec, I don't know why, but in the mountains in Quebec, like outside Quebec City, there's some beautiful cabins. I don't know if it's just like a couple creative people competing with each other to who can build the most like outlandish thing. But it's definitely worth searching up. There's some pretty crazy builds. And really from a practical, I mean, the view would be crazy, but from a practicality standpoint, like you're climbing like a half dozen flights of stairs just to get to your, just to get to your unit. But
Right. I mean, I think that I would appreciate that more on a really steep incline, so that you're kind of walking in a bit ground level, but then you're like way up in the air by the time you walk to the front of the house.
Yeah.
That would be both like appeal to my practical and my whimsical side, I suppose.
So is there must be building code restrictions to, putting a unit on the face of a mountain.
Yeah, well, that's when you get, professional engineers involved.
Right.
They've got to be local. They've got to be certified in that province or that state. But yeah, there are. But I mean, there's a creative workaround for all of those things. You're going to be possibly doing slope stability testing and seismic calculations on all of your struts and supports. But you say you can put a man on the moon.
Yeah, that's right. It's possible.
Yeah.
So with that part, like, is that on the client? Is the client responsible for the groundwork component and then you bring in the unit, or how does that work?
Yeah, it's pretty hard to separate us from that. I mean, technically we're a manufacturer and deliverer of homes, but we have a lot of experience developing sites. We've developed some really crazy sites ourselves, and both in British Columbia and here in Nova Scotia, like on the side of the mountains on glacial till. So we've done some pretty wild things, and I'm way too interested in that to not take the bait if a client has a challenge that they want to talk about. And I've managed sites that are a long ways away from me before for that client who's like, you know what, I can afford to have you manage this, and in fact, I want you to. And then they get me interested in the project, and then next thing you know, like, I'm coordinating with tradespeople and professional engineer that is 1,000 miles away.
Right. Yeah. So you must, like, in those cases, you're working with new tradespeople. It cannot be your normal, like your standard people that you hire, right?
No, that's right. You got to find a new team, and you got to be good at getting the best out of people, and you got to be really effective at communicating, like what is expected and up front. And you got to expect that not everyone's going to be up for it too, right? So you kind of got to go looking through, but you get into a neighborhood as much as you can. You ask around. I mean, that's how I found Frenchie. He wasn't in the Yellow Pages, actually.
Yeah, Frenchie doesn't take me as a guy with the brand new iPhone.
No. But one person was nice enough to give me his number and said, you should call this guy.
Yeah. And that's when you got a good person. When it's a personal recommendation, word of mouth, you got someone good, Yeah,
you got it.
We down in the new rental property, we got a guy, his name's Floyd Tatry. I don't want to insult them, but he probably doesn't listen to podcasts anyway, but I think he's mid 70s or early 70s. But he's a salt of the earth guy, and he was a local recommendation. Like, obviously no website, no and salt of the earth. Like, we were shipping all of our furniture and stuff, but we're not always on site, and our contractor's not always on site. So it's like, where do we ship all this furniture for 7 units? We've been shipping them to him. He's been storing them in his barn. Right now he's sourcing firewood for us, and he can't find any. So he's going to sell us some of his personal firewood. And, he's been great. There was a time I was driving down from New Brunswick. I was in a rush, of course. And I was almost out of diesel. Not every gas station has diesel. And the gas station I went to on the side of the highway was closed before 8 a.m. or something. I was surprised. So all of a sudden I get on site and I'm like short on diesel. He has in the box of his truck a diesel tank. Sure enough, he's like, no problem, Sawyer. Filled me right up on the spot. I was like, man, I want to work with you. These are the types of people that I love working with, the real characters,
Yeah, that's not Floyd's first rodeo, is it? Right?
No. He's salt of the earth. So if you ever do a delivery or need a groundwork person in the Tatamagouche area, let me know, because I could not give him a higher recommendation. He's been fantastic.
Oh, it's good to know. Those people, they restore your faith in the human race.
They really do. Yeah. He, salt of the earth guy. Yeah. I won't take up much more of your time, but I want to ask you, where can people find you? Where can people, my audience and people find you, your links and your website and stuff like that?
Yeah, well, I think that I know I'm supposed to send people to my website because that's what they tell you. That's where you get sales, which is simple. Lloyoll.com, LLOYOLL.com. But I got to say, go to Instagram because we have so much fun there. And we collaborate with people like Sawyer who come and visit our cabins, and you get unique perspectives. You can link to our Airbnb from Instagram, it's at Lloyoll Prefabs. And the Airbnb is a wealth of people commenting on what it was like to stay there. And these are all just authentic. They're not filtered by us, right?
Yeah.
So, there's nothing wrong with Instagram. I'd always send people there first, to be honest, and just get like a color palette of Lloyoll there. And then get into Lloyoll.com can offer you a lot of in-depth information when you're ready for that level of exploration. And you can price your home there too, of course, and you can reach out to us directly and with any questions that you have.
Yeah,
you'll get my email.
Yeah, so it'll go to you personally.
It goes to me, yeah.
There you go. Oh, that's awesome. Because Victoria does your marketing as well, right?
Yeah. Victoria she's amazing at that. I mean, she is so intuitive and understands our brand so well. Yeah. Since working with her, we've never looked back. So anyone out there is looking for help with that type of thing, I'd certainly recommend at VM Consulting, Creative Consulting. Yeah.
Yeah, she does all of our stuff too. I've known her for a few years, and I think we've officially worked together for maybe 2 years. And she's a workhorse. She's very smart. She works very hard, and she's very good at what she does.
She's a can-do person, right?
Yeah, she really is. One of those. Absolutely, yeah. No, and she's made your Instagram look beautiful. So she did a good job there.
Yeah, I agree. It was me posting before that. There's this distinct level of professionalism that kind of, you can see it. It's like a line.
Yeah. If you scroll back and you can find it, you can find where the transition happened.
Yeah, trust me, you scroll down, you'll see it.
Oh, that's too funny. Yeah, well, we can't be good at everything. You're good at designing homes.
Yeah, that's right. You got to recognize your own limitations. That's important.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, man. Well, it was a pleasure. I look forward to, keeping in touch with you as always. Do you plan on going to the Cavendish Beach Music Festival this summer?
Yeah. We were just talking about that last night, actually. So I hope we get to see you again there, man. That was awesome.
Yeah. Well, I bumped into you there, and they just released the last Sum of Artists today.
Oh, cool. All right. We were just wondering, we were like, will we go? Well, we got to see who's playing first.
Yeah. So yeah. They just did the announcement. So we'll see you there, but I'm sure I'll be talking to you lots in between then.
Isn't that part of the island so nice in the summer? I just love it up there.
Yeah.
In August, July, August. Oh, it's paradise. But yeah, man, good to see you as well.
Yes, always. Awesome. Thanks a lot, man. Appreciate it.
Likewise. Take care, son.
The Sawyer Hannay Show.